So what we're dealing with is something very interesting, whereby, as I was saying, Joe Biden's at his worst point. Donald Trump is actually at his best point, being with this such a high favorable rating.
Elect Trump is making his way to Washington to take the oath of office amid a brutal cold spell due to hit the nation's capital on Monday. While Biden's approval ratings exiting office are frosty, Trump appears to be enjoying a bit of a honeymoon period. Joining us now to run the numbers on this, CNN senior data reporter Harry Enten. Hello, Harry.
Hello.
This is a pretty typical pattern, but these numbers for Biden seem especially low.
Yeah, they're historically, though. They're, I dare say, historically awful. What am I talking about here? Well, job approval at the end of the first term. I'm just looking amongst those who lost or didn't run for re-election. You don't have to be a mathematical genius to see which is the lowest number on your screen right now. And an average of polls, my average, Joe Biden's at 38%. He's actually lower than Donald Trump was at the end of his first term. Remember, at the end of his first term, everyone was saying Donald Trump's political career is over. Joe Biden's approval ratings even lower than Trump's was by just a point. He's lower than Jimmy Carter, who was at 44% by the end of his presidency. Not even close to George H.W. Bush, who was at 56%, saw a nice rebound. But the bottom line is this. Joe Biden came in to end the Donald Trump reign in this country, right? End Donald Trump's political career. And all that's ended up happening is Joe Biden has managed to end up at a lower approval rating at the end of his first term than any president on record, Jessica.
And how are people reflecting on his entire presidency at this moment?
Yeah, so if you think this approval rating number is bad, take a look at this particular number. All right, a good or great president at the end of their terms. Well, Barack Obama, 52% of Americans thought he was a good or great president at the end of his presidency, 2017. Donald Trump, very much behind Barack Obama at 36%. But look at how low Joe Biden is. My goodness gracious, you can't really get lower than 25% in our polarized era, because the bottom line is there's going to be a bunch of Democrats who would say that Biden was a good or great president no matter what he did. But yet it's only a quarter of the country who believes that Joe Biden was a good or great president. It is the lowest number since AP Nork started tracking this back at the end of Barack Obama's second term. Bottom line is Joe Biden goes out a very unpopular man at the end of a 50-plus year political career.
It is. It's so interesting, and there's so many questions too about like, are we so more divided now than we were back in 2017? Is it Joe Biden? There's a lot there to chew on.
Yeah.
I do want you to talk us through Trump's popularity at this point.
Yeah. So if Joe Biden's numbers are at his lowest point, right? Donald Trump's are right near his top point. We have a little thing up here. I'm so tall, I was managed to able to actually bump it. Look at this. Trump's record favorable rating. You know, you go back 4 years ago, he was at 38%. Look at where he is today, 47%. That is the highest favorable rating Donald Trump has ever registered in an average of polls. So what we're dealing with is something very interesting, whereby, as I was saying, Joe Biden's at his worst point. Donald Trump is actually at his best point, being with this such a high favorable rating. One other little last thing I will point out, because I want to get to the forecast a little bit, is just take a look at this. Will Trump be a good president? In January of 2017, you saw 48% for Donald Trump. Look at where we are today. A majority expect that Donald Trump will be a good president. So expectations for him are quite high. We'll see if he's able to meet those expectations, Jessica.
Yeah, and you mentioned the weather. How cold will it be historically?
Brr. I mean, my goodness gracious. I mean, what are we talking about? We're talking Monday's forecast is in the low 20s, a low 10s wind chill. That would make it the potentially second coldest inauguration on record. Remember, Ronald Reagan was at 7 in 1985. We're looking right around where JFK was in 1961. And look, this is even going to be colder than Obama's at 28%.